Hey everyone, excuse my voice. I've been sick, as you could see in the last episode, and I'm just about getting over it. Don't worry, I didn't have COVID or anything. I actually tested so negative, nobody ever saw anything as negative as it. However, a couple of waking thoughts I've had, and while I'm still in the engine room clearing out the floors in there and prepping to get the fuel tanks on the floor, I'm now looking at the possibility of using these two bays, the one I have my foot in, this one from this point to its corresponding point, which is here. These 3 bays times 2 frames, so I'll draw around it that. Just see my finger there. As a floor mounted, using the bottom of the hull, which you can do for a diesel boat, as an extra fuel tank. The thing about Shibumi is is going to be a long range boat. It's going to be slow and long range. It needs to be able to travel large passages of water slowly, and it'll get there. But I need to have the fuel on board. With the new fuel tanks, I've lost 450 litres, which isn't an awful lot of fuel, but I had an extra tank going in this bay here, just drawing a square around it, and I have that tank, but I'm now looking at making all of this a tank, one huge big tank that I can laden up and drive for days at a time to get to places where I want to go. So I'm just looking at this, and I've just been taking measurements. I do have it all in CAD, and looking at the possibility of sealing the whole thing around and making it fully waterproof or diesel-proof, airtight, and turn it into a tank. Obviously, prep the floors, re-prime them, and have huge access hatches on the tops of the tanks, so I can still get in there if I need to. I've researched all of this. It is doable. It is legal on a boat like this, and I don't see any reason why I shouldn't be doing it. So as I made the little video that you've just seen, I also took a notebook in and I took these dimensions, and it's basically the layout of the grid of the floor, and then started transferring them into AutoCAD of the boat. So this is a calculation I did on paper, working out roughly just the, as you can see there with the mouse moving around, I took the square of that, I took the triangle of that, and got the volumetric litres of them. And because the tanks slowly get deeper as they go towards the front of the boat, the reading at this one here that I've highlighted, the second one from the floor, is obviously higher than the one of this one. So what I did is I added the two figures together, divided them by 2, and that gave me my figures. So the tank is shaped here. If you just look up here in this area here, tank is shaped, that would be between frame 1 and 2, and that's between frame 2 and 3, and this is between frame 3 and 4, and 4 is the bulkhead into the engine room. That's a much smaller part of the tank. So I'll show you what I've done now. I have AutoCAD open underneath this. So here we go. So this is, let me scroll in here. These are my calculations. So this is towards the back of the boat, it's much shallower. And then the next frame is 850 millimeters forward, and these are the figures for that. And then again another 850, and then it's only the centre of the next part that we use, because the black and grey water tanks will be sitting above those, so I can't use the full height. It's actually a shorter piece. So this is the centre line of the floor of the boat, this purple line here that I've highlighted, and this would be the stringers which are out here, out at the edge, if you can see where the crosshair is. And these are the stringers here, so that's just showing the side of the tank, and this of course is the centre line. So there's the profile of frame 2 at the back, and I'll have to close up these holes here. And then also on these ones here, these are solid panels, I'll be drilling holes in those to let fuel flow through. So as you can see, it's just a centre of between frame 3 and frame 4 is being used, and that takes 283 litres there. And then this next bay back here, will take a total of 500, and I have the maths all done down here. So this bay here, so this would be the square section, and that's the triangular section. Those two figures equal 658. And then 803 in this bay here, and 327 in this part here. So that gives me a total of 1788 litres. Divide that just for weight by the specific gravity of diesel, which is 0.83. So the total weight of the fuel that we'd be taking on board if we were to fill these tanks to the max would be 1,484 kg of diesel fuel. So the lids for these will be welded into each bay, because remember the floor will still come up through them to take in the beams for the actual floor in the aft cabin. And I will put one of these little hatches over each section, so I have permanent access into them. And what will be a case of doing is opening this beam here will be a T-shaped beam that will be welded in, and I can just slide it off to one side out of my way each time. I will have enough clearance to do that. So the reason why these are here is because the shaft is plated over that, and that's actually a kind of an exclusion zone, but it doesn't really affect the capacity of that tank. It takes out maybe 20 litres. So that's what I've been working on, designing, and how I'm going to make this all work, because these areas in the boat, I can show you here. I find the right one I'm going to use. Oh, where's it gone? Here. So if I take the tank and copy it, so copy with a base point if anyone's able for CAD. This is AutoCAD 2018. I love it. And essentially it will be going in here. And so the green line here is the actual back wall. That's not the frame. The frame is actually there. So if I pin that, you can see then exactly how it lines up. I won't click it in there, but you can see exactly how it goes. So I'll click it in here temporary and just release it. The exhaust hose will be coming out this side here. The steering and rudder and all that is in this area here. And because we're in the aft cabin, the shower unit and all that will be in here. So this gives me space underneath here and here to mount sewage pumps and fluid handling pumps and valves for the black and grey water systems. So this area here I was never really going to use. I did have, and I do have, a fuel tank that would just fit in this bay here, which was somewhere around 260 litres, similar to this size. But now we're going for 1,700. It gives Shibumi nearly 8.5 days constant cruising at 8 knots, 22 litres an hour. We now have 3,400 litres capable on board. So that's just a layout then of the rest of the boat. Forward cabin, kids, bunks, and we've plenty kids, so we'll have them coming all the time. Forward heads and sink and toilet. This will be a little control area, washer, dryer, and then myself and Esther's room here at the back. I'll move the bed forward. I won't use the closet there. I'll just use one here and the ensuite in here. So that whole floor underneath us was just wasted, so we might as well use it. So that's really it, and we'll see how we get on with all of these things in time. Hi everyone, welcome back. As you can hear, my voice is still only marginally improving. I've nearly been off for a week with Halloween, with Esther and the kids, and all the bits and pieces that went on. Plus we've had endless bad weather of storm after storm, high winds, gales, lots of rain and the whole lot. So a couple of things did happen. I've moved on with the design of the new tanks for the aft floor, and I'm also toying with the idea of something to do with the flybridge, but you'll see all that down the road. But inevitably it meant that the radar arch ended up getting put back on temporarily. It is going to end up back off the boat completely in the shed. It's going to be prepped and painted off the boat while I work on the flybridge. So tonight, we're actually the 1st of November. Tonight I've just done out one of the templates for the little hatches, the 7 hatches that are going to be over the 7 sections of the new fuel tank at the back. Now I do have tons to be doing in the engine room, don't get me wrong, that work still has to continue, hoping to get back at that tomorrow. But in the meantime, at night, while it's blowing gale outside, I can be doing a few bits in the garage. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. So here we have a 4mm sheet. It's the same stuff the other fuel tanks were made from. These are offcuts from the original build. And this is one of the hatches that you've seen in the drawing. Now this is slightly smaller than the ones that you've seen already, and they are now changed on the drawing. And the reason why I made them smaller was they're marginally smaller than they were. I just drew them at the time. The night I designed this, but to make them fit on a page so I can actually use them as a template on a piece of A3. So you can see there on the inside we should have bang on 300 millimeters and obviously 200. I just lined this up, 200. There we go, and you can see how accurate the CAD drawing is. So the red line is the hole that's going to be in the top of the tank, and the blue line is the cover, and the black line is purely a construction line, and each of those are 10mm holes. And I also put a little tiny circle, that's where I'm going to put the dot punch. And the other thing I've done as well is to get the radii, plural of radiuses, of this and this. I've also marked the actual center of these 2 circles here, so I can actually dot punch them and use the dividers to when I get this in focus, use the dividers to actually scribe these. So I'm going to make one by hand, dot punch it, hand drill it, and then that will be marked as the template, and then copy the other 6 off it exactly, and I will end up using the plasma torch involved in that. And obviously with the tops of the tanks, I'll be plasma torching this inside line here as close as I can to it, and staying on the inside so I can always grind it back rather than going too much. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to tape that down and dot punch it, and then start working on scribing the straight lines on the paper, which will invariably end up cutting the paper because I'm going to use this knife. And then I have the dot punches done then to get the radiuses in, so the whole lot will just come up underneath. So we'll see how we get on. Now I'm taking no chances with the depth of the dot punch, so I'm actually going to use something quite tough. Marking up things today that I'm not actually going to be doing any physical work, because I never work with my wedding ring on as much as I'd like to. It's just too dangerous, especially with welding, and I've met more people that are missing this finger as a result of it, so I'm not going to take the chance. So normally it's off, so it's not that I've automatically become married overnight or anything, but you would normally be used to seeing. my ring on me. It's usually kept off. So there all are straight edges, and yes, yeah, it's going to damage the template, but now I know that that's radius 80. I can pick it up here, scribe it around, I can make sure it matches both sides. So we're actually done with this now. I don't need this inside line because this is the cover, and I have my 4 straight edges cut, all my dots in, so this can now come off. So this is my point, so I should be able to, the light isn't great here now, I should use this side. There we go. Now, they're all scribed, I can follow them properly. So it's evening time now, and the Monday my voice is slightly better, and I've just spent the whole day. I've actually finished the floor in there, so I'm actually going to be able to put in the fuel tank bracket tomorrow. So I'm back in the workshop now, and I'm going to just cut out the first of the 7 manhole covers for the aft tanks in the back, and I've just roughly cut it out in plasma. It's a bit wobbly, but I'm well outside the line, so I just need to grind it back into shape. Oh, that's our first template now. I've literally just put 5mm holes through it, just enough to let the dot punch through to keep them accurate, so I'm not going for the centre each time. The 5mm hole will centre the dot punch into the next one when I'm making templates. So now that I have the floor finally back to bare metal, I have a few little bits to tidy up in there, a couple of little extra welds and whatnot. Things are a little bit weaker than I'd like. I'm going to seat the tank, which is here hanging off the roof. I'm going to seat the frame that I built ages ago back into those 3 frames that you're looking at there, where the hoover is. But I'm going to give it all a quick tidy up, because you can see the place is just destroyed in dust, and I need to tidy that up. The same on the other side. At least that way I'll be able to put the tank down and do some other work. And then back in that corner there, I'm going to have to weld in the outlet for the exhaust, the 90-degree bend that I got made. So that's today's work. So I've, excuse the stare to me, I have a moustache I can see. I've just laid in the holder for the fuel tank, which is directly above me. Same as on the other side. I have it roughly where I want it, on the straight edge on the front, down onto the steel girder, and that should be straight to the boat, which it is, and then I'll have to trim the back edge to match it parallel with level, and then I can put in the little stays that were needed the whole way along. So I'm just going to tack this in now. So after a bit of a day, I'm just trying to get some light down in there. I've managed to get the frame on the floor perfectly level. I'm very happy with it. So I'm actually going to test fit it now with Adam. At the moment, when I need 2 bodies, I have to wait for school or college or something to be over. Okay, if I release this now, it should just fall down. Well, that's 2 tanks down. That one went down a couple of weeks ago, and this one went in handy enough, and it's fitting beautifully. The extra space that's around there is to allow for rubber, so it's there. And the light isn't great now. The evening is just about to get dark here. So that's it there. Exhaust and generator are going to live in that hole there. The exhaust will be mounted in under there. And this is then all free. So I've worked out a floor way as well. I'm going to put angle iron along each side and then step little bits of either timber or like an open frame steel mesh or something along the sides of the engine room. But I have it figured out, so it's just in case I get a couple of lengths of angle iron for each side. And of course the hydraulic pack will live in there. That's too dark to see. So anyway, we'll leave it at that on this episode, and thank you very much. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. We're begging you. And are delighted to see the amount of views that are clocking up in under a week. So nearly 300 views on last week's video, and we hope to do more on this one. So without further ado, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again. Bye.